wealthy men are more likely to cheat. I love the inspirational symphonic music in the background while she's talking, like, yeah, girl, inspire us, girl. Character is definitely something that I do not hear a lot of women talk about when I hear them talking about wanting to get married. I want to go ahead and react to this video from this woman. She has a femininity channel. Her name is Jasmine Theodora. She is gorgeous. She is someone that I am subscribed to, so I would suggest you subscribe to her channel. She is covering basically why high value men, a lot of women should probably avoid looking for, average women should probably avoid looking for high value men in the terms of with the definition of a high value man being a man that has a lot of money. And she's going to give you her reason why. And I agree a lot, because this is something that women, especially black women who want that type of man, they don't necessarily consider this.
Mine is a guy just being an above average earner with a high status. That's essentially how Kevin Samuels, may God have mercy on his soul, and the Red Pill Manosphere Collective talk about high value men. In fact, Kevin Samuels had 6 specific factors that he used to qualify a man as high value. If you're a high value man, then you, according to him, have to 1, make at least $120,000 a year, 2, for at least the past 3 to 5 years, 3, have group acceptance from other high value men, 4, network with other high value men, 5, have the reputation as a high value man, meaning having your income and public image linked, and 6, have utility, meaning that you're useful to others. Being a high value man in this.
Okay, so I think that is the definition that I've heard too, Kevin Samuels' definition. I really believe that Kevin Samuels was the one to really bring the term high value man into the stratosphere, and that's where we get the term from. And so that is, I used to watch his show, and that is exactly what he used to say. I would say the last part to me is the most important. You're useful to others, because I believe that's what everyone should want to be. We should all want to be useful to each other. One of the reasons we can glorify God is by serving our community, serving our husbands, serving our children, serving, our church, serving the community at large, serving others. That is what God has put us to do. The Bible says that the greatest of these is a servant, not the least. The greatest is a servant. So if you are useful to others, your resources, your time, your personality, your knowledge, your skill is useful to others, I think you're doing God's work. Now, it got to be something of integrity. That service needs to be of integrity, not setting up webcams and doing crazy stuff. Not that type of service. But yes, also one more thing, I did hear that Kevin Samuels came up with the definition, this list of qualifications to be a high value man, because he looked at men from the past and present. He saw that they all had these things in common.
Vein has very little to do with character. If a man makes a lot of money, what that essentially signals is, unless he's a nepo baby, is that he's competent, he's disciplined, he's a hard worker, and those are all, of course, valuable traits. I am not here at all to say that you should want a man who's incompetent, undisciplined, and lazy and makes no money at all. I don't want no scrub. What I am saying is that if you are an average young woman in your 20s or 30s and are looking for men in the same age group, there is an infinitesimally small chance that you're going to find a man in your age group who makes 6 figures, let alone a wholesome man who wants to be monogamous who makes 6 figures.
Right, which is what I was saying early. Most of these high value men, I did hear him say that a lot of those men reach their financial prime in their 40s and 50s. So they're older. And when women would call into the show saying that they wanted a man making 6 figures, he would say, are you willing to date a man much older than you? Because those are the ones who are making that kind of money, not men in their early 20s or 30s. And a lot of times I would hear some women say, no, I don't want a man too old. Or they would say, I don't have a problem with that.
The average 25-year-old man in the US, at least, makes $40,000 a year. The average 35-year-old makes $60,000 a year, and this is probably before taxes. Only about 10% of men, in the US at least, make six figures. 10%. And you better believe that most of those men are not that young. It takes time to get that kind of income. They're probably at least 45 years.
Right. Not only are they not that young, but they're highly sought after. Clearly, because if you have a majority of women saying that to even average earning women saying that they want a man making six figures or more, then they have a lot of competition, because that's a very, very small percentage of men for a majority of women. So it's highly unlikely it's going to happen for a majority of women who want that.
Old, if not in their 50s. And unless you want to have a pretty large age gap marriage, I'm talking 10 to 20 years, which most people don't want because they want to experience all the different seasons of life together, then you should probably consider more regular so-called average men. I see a lot of women online.
Which is, the solution to this is to marry young. The solution for black women, women in general, but black women specifically, is to marry young. The average age a black woman marries is higher, older than most women of any race who marry. And that's 31 years old. So majority of black women are marrying older than other women of other races of women in America. 31 years old. That's definitely a lot older. The solution is to marry young so that you can journey in life through life together with your husband, and he may earn a lot of money eventually, that six figures, but at least y'all were together through it all. That's really what marriage is supposed to be, is a journey. But when you're 40, when you're in your late 30s, 40s and up, and then you're trying to get married, half of the journey is almost over. Let's be honest. That's why it's better to get married in your early 20s. It's better to get married earlier so you can have children earlier. So then they can grow up, and once they grow up and get out the house, you can enjoy your husband again, and y'all can discover new things about each other again. And all of it, it's a journey. That's why I believe marriage is for the young. Marriage starts out for the young. It's best to get married early, and stats show that couples who marry early stay together longer, are less likely to divorce, and are more satisfied in their marriages than couples who married at later ages.
A lot of women online pining after the top, not even 10% of male earners, but the top 5%, men who make at least $200,000 a year. Women who think that being with a regular dude is settling and complacent. I am not saying that money is an awful thing. I'm not saying every high-earning man is unwholesome. However, if money is the main focus or the highest goal, then it becomes disordered. If you're a young woman who wants to get married, start a family while you're still young, and you want a man who's also young, then you should not base your standards off of what the red pill manosphere collective call high value. There is no mention of character, no mention of piety, and if you do not take those things into consideration, then there will definitely be pitfalls. Firstly, when you're with this kind of powerful man, there's a high risk.
Pitfalls. Character is definitely something that I do not hear a lot of women talk about when I hear them talking about wanting to get married. I just hear, I want a man making this much money. But what about his character? And this is why Ayanla basically, this was what Ayanla was trying to tell Ebony, that if he loves driving the bus, a man of integrity, loves his mama, I can build with him. That is what we should be thinking about, more so than the fact that he has a bus company, because if he has a company, she's going to get more into it. But who cares if he has a company and he doesn't have any morals, any values, and is treating you like whatever? Sometimes we overlook good, decent guys who could give us good lives. They just may not be making lots of money right now. Who's to say that they will always be making this money that they're making? They could start making more eventually. Most likely they will, but we overlook good guys who have integrity and character and who have the best characteristics to lead a home and be a father for foolish guys who just just money. That is not, listen, the Bible says that money is the root of all evil. Money is a tool and a resource, but it should not be everything to you.
A risk that he's going to be unfaithful, as he may have a bigger ego, and there's no shortage of beautiful women who actively want to be with him for the same reasons. And
I believe there is a stat that says a majority wealthy men are more likely to cheat.
A worldly man has beautiful women throwing themselves at him. Being faithful to one woman is more difficult and less enticing. I'm not saying these beautiful women are causing men to sin. When you sin, it is entirely your fault. But there are more temptations surrounding high-value men, which is why men in the manosphere and red pill collective weirdly try to reason that it's not unethical for a high-value man to cheat or to have a high body count. I'm not saying most high-value men cheat, but there is a higher proportion of them cheating.
And like she said, it's just a higher temptation. And why would you want to put yourself through that as a wife? Why? A lot of these basketball players, entertainers, high-powered attorneys, a lot of the reasons they get these divorces, these women, some of these, a lot of it is infidelity, and it's a mess. As a woman, you cannot have peace always thinking that your husband is out there going on a business trip cheating. Why would you even want to put yourself in that situation? Now, again, like she said, not all high value men are cheating. However, they have more options than the average everyday post office man, than the average everyday sanitary worker, than the janitor, than the bus driver, than, the office clerk. They have more options. They have more options. And a lot of times the women in their lives, they either know that they're cheating and they know that their men have more options and they don't care, because there are a lot of women who don't care as long as that man is able to give them the lifestyle that they want. Some women don't care if they're cheating.
I don't care that a man cheats. Even my own boyfriend, I don't care. As long as he's cheating with his penis and not his wallet, I'm good.
And that's on them. But I just don't see how that's going to make a good, solid marriage when you have all these trust issues, insecurities, and you have to deal with the fact that there may have been cheating.
Even if you do want to attract this kind of man, there is competition. And even if you do settle down with this type of man, you very well may not experience as much peace in the marriage because you are keenly aware of the fact that he has many options who are more or less throwing themselves at him. And that kind of thing would bother even the most secure of women. So, does this type of man give you a lavish lifestyle, status, convenience, financial security, and relief? In spades. But what about lasting intimacy, peace, or a tight-knit family? And hey, I get it. We are women. We value a man who can provide for us with resources because we're the ones who get pregnant and give birth, and therefore we want a man who can provide for us so that when we get pregnant, we can focus on being pregnant and being present mothers. But the transient thrill of being with someone of high value and the exclusive material benefits that they can offer you very well may narrow the scope of your vision. This intense attraction ultimately comes from our fallen desire to seek security in the world and not from God. Money is ultimately just a tool to exchange value, a means by which we achieve our goals. And if money is our highest goal in itself, then our life becomes shallow and we forget its meaning. You also may not have as...
And if money is our highest goal, you're going to overlook a lot of stuff, a lot of things that should not be overlooked in order to maintain that lifestyle, in order to stay with the money. So you're going to overlook a lot of red flags in a man if all you're looking for is a man that can offer you financial stability. You're going to overlook that. And a lot of women do, if they're honest. A lot of women do settle for men who are high value in order to live the lifestyle that they want. So you're going to compromise. You're going to compromise your values for money if that's all you're thinking about is he got to make a lot of money and you're not even thinking about his character.
Intimate of a marriage with a very high value man. These kinds of men are extremely ambitious and busy. They're total hustlers. I'm not only talking about celebrities, even doctors, lawyers, and lucrative business owners work around the clock. They are constantly busy.
Which is another thing that a lot of women do not say or think about when they say, I want this type of man, because a lot of women want to spend quality time with their husbands. Now, maybe you don't. Maybe you just want the benefit of a nice life. Okay. But for the women that do want quality time, that do want time spent with their husband, that do want their husbands at their children's recitals, want their husbands there on the day of the birth, want their husband to take some paternity leave, want their husbands to be around, help raise the children, and just to be intimate with you. It's gonna happen very less with the man that is working crazy hours. And high earning men, a lot of them work crazy hours and do not have the flexibility, or at least don't give themselves the flexibility to simply breathe and be that man that he needs you to be, that you want him to be. So if you're okay with the man missing a lot of birthdays, holidays, special events, barely being home, fine. But if you want your man there, then maybe a high earning man is not what you want, at least not while you're starting out.
And they enjoy being busy. How often are they going to slow down to be present with you and your family? They may view themselves being pillars of the family in only a financial sense. They may think, oh, I'm providing so much for you, that should be enough. When in reality, you are aching for more of a connection and intimacy. Your children are aching for a more present father who isn't always texting clients on his phone or always has to travel for business. Personally, I did not marry a high value man according to Kevin Samuels. He does not meet all of the criteria for being a high value man. He's high value to me, but he does not have it all figured out yet, and that's fine. Most men don't get their stuff together financially for a long time. Most men earn more as time goes on, but in their mid-20s, most men are not very high earners, and that is okay.
And I agree, and the same with my husband. My husband wasn't making a lot of money when we first got married. We lived in a very small studio house. Like, we didn't even have room for a crib. So it took us time to get to where we are now. And we're going to continue to grow. But it takes time. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of women today are not willing to build with a man. Grandma, grandpa, great-grandma, grandpa, women of old got married straight out of high school. They stayed with their man. They built, stayed in the same house for 20-something years, had children, raised them, and that was that. But that does not seem to be what a lot of women today want. It just doesn't. I'm not just including black women. I'm talking about general. It doesn't seem to be what a lot of women want these days. You want a man that already comes together. You don't want to build with the man. You don't want to be patient with the man, go through that season of growth, which is what marriage is. It's a journey. It's growing. And I think that is why a lot of women just say, I want to settle for a man that is already high value, already got it together. And I don't want to be with potential. And I've heard people say, don't be with potential. Don't be with potential. You just got to have discernment. But everybody is potential. Everybody has potential. Women have potential too. It's not about being with potential. That's one of the graces, the gifts that women have, is that we see potential in others, especially men, and we grab a hold of that and we inspire them to grow and we go on a journey with them. That's one of our gifts, but it's like some of us are throwing that away because we just want a man that already comes ready together and put together, and we don't want to grow with them. And that is the problem why I think a lot of women just want a man already put together. And like she said, most men are not.
Becomes your new normal, and you may end up yearning for the kinds of things you could have had you focused less on finding a high value man, as the manosphere red pill folk define the term, and focused more on finding a godly man, even if you had to settle for a more modest lifestyle. I am definitely not here to invalidate positive experiences that women have had with high earning men. My ultimate point is that what's truly important in a man is not his status. It's not whether he runs an incredibly lucrative business or whether he earns.
I love the inspirational symphonic music in the background while she's talking, like, yeah, girl, inspire us, girl, inspire us.
figures. What's important is that he's a hard worker, that he can take care of you and perhaps your growing family, that he's repentant and earnestly loves and respects you. I know firsthand how attractive lots of money and status is, but that emphatically does not make a good husband. If we remain devoted to worldly things and enslaved to our fallen desires, then we're not too dissimilar to those who completely reject or ignore their femininity. Our femininity then becomes a shallow raiment whose only purpose is—
Great video by Mrs. Jasmine Theodora. Hi, wife. If you enjoy what you heard or watched, please consider subscribing to my channel. More content updates coming very, very soon. God bless.